Hi there, Pastor Charlie here with another edition of Pastor Charlie's Toolbox, and today we're out at Hannah Lake Bible Camp. And one of the beautiful things about this place is it has a lot of lawn. What you might also want to notice is, what is the lawn made of? The lawn's made of grass, and the lawn's also made of weeds. And actually, there's a beautiful patch of weeds right here. And they're beautiful because they're flowering. I hope you can see them. There's a whole bunch of them. And I know our attitude towards weeds isn't always the greatest. A lot of times we say they've got to go. And so we've invented things like this, where you drive it into the ground and these go around the roots of the weeds, and then you just tilt this back, and when you do that it clamps on and you pull the weed out, and then you toss it away. That's how we often think about weeds, but I wonder if we should think about all weeds that way. God gave us this creation with so many things in it that we don't understand totally, but we've come to understand that things are all interconnected and intertwined. Maybe there's a reason for weeds. Scientists think there are bugs that go at the flowers, animals that eat the plants, and they're gorgeous to look at when they're in full bloom. There's a story about weeds Jesus tells in our gospel today from Matthew 13, which is back there. It's a story about some farmer who planted a field of wheat, and it was clean wheat. It was good wheat. It should have just come up as wheat, and that was all that would be in the field. That was the plan. Well, during the night, somebody who didn't care for this farmer at all, they came along and they planted seeds of weeds. Weed seeds. And they planted them, but nobody noticed for a while, not until a little tiny plant started coming out of the ground. That's when they noticed. And so the workers for the farmer, they went to the farmer and they said, "Look, there's all these weeds in there. They shouldn't be in there, and if you want, we'll go and clean them all out." The farmer was wise though. He said, no, don't do that. Not now. He said, if you start tearing out the weeds, those tender plants, the wheat plants might also get ripped out of the soil at the same time. And I want every bit of wheat that's going to be produced. We'll lose part of the crop if we start tearing out all the weeds. And he said, when the time comes for the harvest, that's when we'll separate out the weeds. And when it comes to do the threshing and get the grain off the stalks, we'll separate them then. Just leave it alone for now. And there's a lesson for us here. Well, maybe there's a few lessons for us here. First of all, when we come here to Hannah Lake, we don't come to pick the weeds, that's for sure. We come to make use of the lawns, and it doesn't matter if there's weeds or not, because we're going to enjoy this little bit of creation. So we don't judge whether there's weeds here or not, because we're here to enjoy it. And that's kind of the lesson of this gospel, is that we are not to judge, not weeds. We are not to judge people. And this parable tells us why we aren't to judge people, because so often when we judge, we want retribution. We want some kind of revenge. We want to do something to them. But in doing that, our action could hurt another person. It could hurt their feelings, it could hurt their faith. And they're going to say, what kind of a person is that would do such a terrible thing to someone else? So we are not to judge. Like the farm workers in our parable, let's leave it to God to sort out the good, the bad, and we'll let the weeds be. Our concern is that we are like the wheat and we are to be fruitful.